and this one is titled Where Are We Now? So what we're looking at in the progression of thoughts today is from where we are today and we're ending up with where we want to be in the future. So I'd like to welcome our three panellists. Now, those of you who've been to the Battle of Ideas will be familiar with this format. What I'm going to do is ask the panellists to have a quick talk, about 5 minutes maximum. If they ramble on too much, I'll guillotine them. And so they'll say a few thoughts, which I hope will promote some thoughts in you, and then you can come back and make your statements or questions or anything like that, allow you free range, and then we'll end up with just a quick summary by the three panellists. So it's your opportunity again to contribute. So who have we got here? And I'll do this in the order of people speaking. On my right is Alastair Mellon. Alastair works with us in developing policy, and he stood, and this is what he's going to talk about today, as our candidate in Coventry South. And those that follow Alastair on Twitter would have noticed how active he was and some fantastic ideas he came up with as part of that campaign. On my left is Keenan Clough, who was recently re-elected, unopposed, I think, Keenan, wasn't it, as the head of YSD. Now, a lot of political parties are slightly embarrassed by their youth wing. Not ours. We're full of some really good people on the younger end of our party, and I've been most impressed. And I've been most impressed by the contributions they have made to the development of things in the party. And if you look at their stall at the back, there's some excellent things for the younger ones who are still at university. Have a look at their advice that they provide there for you. And finally, last but by no means least, is my boss from midnight tonight, who's the chair of the South East region. Adam took over the South East region when it was barely functioning, I would say, and has turned it into one of the most successful regions of the country. They far exceeded the target that was set them for finding PPCs for the election. And so these are our panellists. Would you welcome them, please? Now, they've all got their own views to put across in their own specific areas, but I'd like to make 3 points before they start. One is that we're a small party, so bear that in mind. Second, you've seen Paul describe our financial state. We're not rolling in the dosh. No millionaires behind us yet. And finally, and I think I mentioned this earlier, we're all volunteers. There isn't one single person on a salary in this party. So everything that happens in this party is done by people giving of their time voluntarily. So just remember that. So we have a line that is used quite often at the NCC. A great idea, but who's going to do it? So with that thought in your mind, I'll give the floor to Alastair.
Okay, thank you. So as Valerie said, I was a first-time, full-time candidate at the general election. I stood in Coventry South, where I grew up. So I'm going to talk about the nuts and bolts of standing as a first-time candidate for anybody who's thinking about it and wants to know where all the bodies are buried. Don't worry about taking too many notes, because I'm going to work with Hillary to turn this into a briefing note that we can share with all first-time candidates and second-time candidates, frankly. So I'm going to rattle through this, so don't be too put off if it's too much to note down. So first-time candidate, the basics. Firstly, you've got to get nominated. Daniel Whetstone nominated me as a deputy nominating officer so that I could put myself forward in Coventry South, which meant I could go and register as the SDP candidate in Coventry South with Coventry City Council. You have to register with the returning officer in your constituency. You can make an appointment with the returning officer as soon as the election is called. I was the first candidate in Coventry South to be confirmed. You have to pay a deposit. It's £500. Good news is you get it back if you get 5% of the votes. I didn't. Getting your leaflet printed. This is your only chance to communicate directly with each and every house and each and every voter in the constituency directly. So, number one, do it early. Get the content settled early. Make sure the content is approved by the Post Office Artwork Sign-Off Department before you print your leaflets, because they can reject it. Your leaflets are all posted for free, but you have to get them printed, and that's going to cost you. In Coventry, we had 70,000 printed, and it cost around £2,500 for an A4 sheet with a fold in the middle, so you've got 4 sides. 2 sides for national policies, 2 sides, one about yourself as a candidate and your connection with the constituency, and one about certain ideas you've got to put forward, probably with a photograph of yourself to get your name and facial recognition. So you want to aim for your leaflet to arrive by post just before people receive their postal votes. Too early and they forget about you when they come to do the postal vote. Too late and you've missed your chance to influence up to 30% of voters who are going to vote by post. You have to constantly monitor the printer's progress. Don't trust anything they say. Verify, verify, verify. Chase, chase, chase is my advice. The post office, get familiar with the post office process early doors. There's no room for negotiation with the post office. You have one form to fill out, an EL1A form. You've got to know this form inside out. There is no room for negotiation. You complete that form, return it to the post office no later than 48 hours before the handover of your leaflet for delivery. The post office, again, must approve, sign off the leaflet. Some content isn't allowed. Deliveries from the printer normally go to the main post office. In the case of Coventry South, they go to Northampton, 35 miles away, and then they get delivered to a local distribution centre, in this case, Coventry North and Coventry South. Coventry South Post Office Coventry North Post Office managed to deliver 5,000 of my leaflets to the wrong constituency because they had old, out-of-date maps of the constituency, right? Believe me, this is not unusual. So you need to check with that. It's not unusual. Normally, it's too late to get this fixed. Spare leaflets, very important for canvassing. We gave out leaflets to voters every day, 10 to 14 hours a day at retail outlets. Aldi, Tesco, Morrison, Costco, Sainsbury's, Asda. Don't park in the free parking for more than 2 hours. I'm fighting 11 parking fines. I've won 10 out of 11. So we were typically having between 15 to 20 conversations per hour each, some very quick, some extended. My opponent, Zara Sultana, is the #1 MP on all 4 social media platforms. She's got 500,000 followers on each platform. Sensibly, she didn't engage with me at all. I wouldn't have done if I was in her position, and she refused to be baited or goaded into, despite provocative posts. So, for example, we kept highlighting that she had a 14-to-1 ratio, talking about Gaza over Coventry, which post-election we've kept up. She's down to a 2.4 ratio, 77 to 32. We monitor her every single day to let people know. Twitter X is easy to use, great for political wonks, but there are no voters there. We created content on Twitter and then cascaded it down to other platforms. TikTok, loads of young voters, really easy to master and use. I recommend it. Instagram, simple to use, not as good at TikTok. Facebook, the majority of voters are on Facebook. It's a really horrible interface and many vitriolic trolls. YouTube, we didn't get any traction at all. So content, connect to the 5 national messages, video of key local issues, e.g. the Gigafactory consent for Coventry Airport, the School of Nuclear Engineering Design and Regulation we wanted to establish at Warwick University. Talk to camera, 30 to 60 seconds maximum. Text, tend to focus on Twitter every night and then recycle that content through to all the other platforms. I want to talk about media, the local press. The only local newspaper in Coventry sent us a long 5 pages of A4 questionnaire, which was published 1 week before. That's it. Local radio, BBC Coventry and Warwick, were terrible. They made no attempt to organise a husting, despite repeated encouragement to do so. They were only interested in the war in Gaza. Hustings, Zara Sultana refused to debate anyone. She only campaigned on Saturday and Sunday for the first 4 weeks, bussing in hundreds of people from London, mostly the green-haired, nose-pierced types. She was there the whole of the last week. BBC, ITV, I'm going to rattle through. Costs. I spent around £7,000. Leaflet was 2.5, Facebook 500, food and beverages 40 a day, deposit 500, diesel 500, student accommodation, 42 nights at £22 a night. So the voters, what to expect? We spoke to 4,000 voters in 6 weeks. Here's the things you'll definitely hear. You're all the same, you're all crooks. I don't vote, you're all crooks. I don't vote, you're all liars. All politicians are liars and crooks. No, mate, I'm voting reform. That was every 40 to 60-year-old white male. People are very angry. A number of the people I canvassed with couldn't cope with the vitriol at large as they experienced it. It's much nicer canvassing with at least one other person. Special thanks to Adam Williams, our first member in Coventry, and Michael Newton, who time and again joined me canvassing. It's a fantastic feeling when you do connect. You cannot connect with Liberals. They're mad. They live on a different planet. You can't connect with Greens. They're totally mad. They live in an alternative galaxy. Everybody else is reachable in some shape or form. The key messages that made a difference: family-focused, pro-industry in the case of Coventry, automotive, pro-nuclear, pro-housing. Coventry needs new management. There is no such thing as a wasted vote. Your vote encourages us to keep trying. When I could get one conversation going, people are normally busy. We could connect with people, but as far as the people of Coventry South were concerned, getting rid of the Tories was job one, and that's what they were fundamentally focused on. Lessons learnt. If I can have one more minute. Ideally, you need a connection with the constituency. Hard work is not enough. Labour support was a mile wide but an inch deep. Job one was to dump the Tories. Labour support reached its high watermark. Their coalition fragile, and the different wings of their coalition hate each other. Nigel Farage had a huge impact in Coventry. Despite having no photo on their website or on his own leaflet, never campaigning once, their candidate Chris Baden got 13% of the vote, 5,711 votes, against my 334, and I campaigned 6 weeks, 14, 15 hours a day. So we need to create national impact to support the local individual candidates. The SDP Coventry, we started the election campaign with 0 members. We ended with 10. We've now got 16. We meet every Saturday, first Saturday every month at 3 p.m. at the Open Arms, if you want to join us. We're negotiating with the Coventry Citizens Party to have a common manifesto for 2026 local elections. We plan to grow the party so we can compete in all 3 Coventry constituencies at the next general election, plus Solihull/North Warwickshire. Campaigns galvanise commitment. Courage is contagious. The worst news, the largest party by far in Coventry South was the people who didn't vote. Only 50% of the people who could vote did vote. Lessons learnt nationally: we need a central office that can coordinate policy, produce material that explains all of our policies in detailed, accurate form, produce national content, both text and video. Good ground game is not enough. We need a national airways strategy. We really need massively popular policies which are distinctive. I suggest comprehensive immigration reform, cheap energy through transformed regulation of the nuclear industry, detailed strategy to deliver actual affordable housing.
Thanks, Alastair. That's what I call fast talking. Well done. Thanks very much. Onwards to Keenan. Thanks, Keenan.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Keenan Clough, Chair of the Young Social Democrats. It's fantastic to be in Manchester today. I'm only an hour away in Preston if you do ever want to come to a social event. As Chair of our Youth Wing, I work closely with SDP members across the country, from students and young professionals to those just joining a political party for the first time. Many of our YSD members have great ideas on what's going right and wrong in the party, so today I just want to share a few of those views with you. The 2024 election was a key moment for us, and it's essential to critique in the context of this conference. The results could be argued to be nothing but positive for us. Our greatest number of candidates, highest number of votes, and highest vote share since the 80s, all incredible achievements not to be downplayed. However, we also need to be realistic about our success compared to other parties and how these parties will present a huge challenge for us. Our momentum, though positive, is not enough when we compare ourselves to other emergent political parties. Reform UK, for example, surged in the election, and the Green Party has built a strong, steady base for over the years and could easily increase its number of MPs again in the next election. Feedback from YSD members who helped on the campaign trail told me that while people like the SDP, they preferred to vote for Reform UK. It's clear that the 33,000 votes we got in this election aren't a given at the next, especially when we consider that this time Reform UK didn't stand in the majority of our highest vote share constituencies. We have to work hard to retain the support of these voters. So what drove our growth in the election, and what were we lacking? A lot of it was down to the great work of our leader, William, who presented a positive image for the party in the media, and the hard work of many individuals and regions, such as local campaigners in Leeds, of course Alastair in Coventry, all across the country. While individual campaigns achieved positive results, the lack of a unified party strategy limited their overall impact. This disconnect meant that the hard work invested in these campaigns didn't translate into widespread awareness of the SDP. As a result, millions of people in the UK remain unaware of our party's existence. There are difficulties in achieving this, of course. We have limited resources, limited numbers, limited time. That is out of our control. But I think the main lesson we need to take away from this conference is this. The one thing that would have delivered us more votes, that will win us more votes the next general election, is for the SDP to develop a clear strategy for the party, for our growth and future success. So party strategy. We can build a party that is prepared for success in 5 clear ways. 1, integrating our efforts from policy and media to local elections and recruitment. 2, establishing a clear national structure for a constitutional review. 3, setting and pursuing achievable annual goals for our volunteers. 4, utilising technology more effectively, such as canvassing tools. 5, testing our strategies in the series of local and devolved elections leading up to 2029. Through this approach, we'll develop a party ready to succeed in 2029, picking up local councillors, Scottish and Welsh members of Parliament along the way. Whilst this is the bigger picture, let's look into a specific challenge: communication. Everyone I speak to in the SDP says that when they tell voters or tell their friends or family, our message resonates. We've proven we have the passion and the policy. Now we need to refine how we communicate our vision. We need to connect with people and show them that what matters to them is also what matters to us. It's not our product that's missing, it's our salesmanship, our communication that must improve. Our professional national and candidate leaflets and our somewhat comedic party political broadcasts are examples of the excellent materials and communications that we can produce as such a small party. We did reach millions of people in the course of the general election. 1 in 6 voters saw us on the ballot paper, but how many potential voters did we miss? We must elevate our communication strategy, not only in terms of content, but also in professionalism. Our social media presence, while passionate, needs to reflect the seriousness and credibility of a party that is ready to win elections. We can be quite reactionary on social media, responding to current events or reposting news outlets and party friends on X. Instead, we should be sharing our graphics, videos, on-the-ground campaigns, events, and building our own brand. Improving our communications also means expanding beyond just one spokesperson. Our new deputy leader, Hillary, is an excellent addition. And breaking out our Twitter spheres, ensuring that we are present on a wider range of social media platforms, engaging with young voters and the broader public, not just our own membership or friendly anonymous accounts. Reaching the all-important, politically apathetic, left-behind voter. We should be looking to platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, not just as add-ons of our core outreach, especially to younger voters. A comprehensive media strategy backed by an army of content creators and a constant flow of ready-to-use materials and videos for our campaigns and regions will allow us to reach voters that we failed to reach even in the election. This is something our own YSD media team are working on right now, recording videos today even. We know that from Reform UK success, their professional coordinated media presence can make all the difference, and continues to do so with millions of views each month. If we want to build on a significant public reach in the election, we need to build our media presence, and we need to act on this now. In closing, the potential of the SDP is immense. We've shown we have the policies, the passion, and the drive to make an impact. But to truly build on our success, we need a cohesive strategy that integrates our campaigns, strengthens our communications, and positions us as a credible alternative in British politics. The future of the SDP depends on our collective ability to adapt, to grow, and connect with the voters who are looking for real solutions. Let's leave this conference ready to take those steps forward together. Thank you.
Well done, Keenan. Adam.
Thank you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the South East region so you understand where we're coming from. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that tells me about the gap that we have over the next few years that we need to address. And I'm going to leave you with a challenge that I hope we can kick around through the rest of the day. But if I may, I'll just start by disagreeing with 2 things Valerie said. The first was, she opened the conference by telling us that we're really nice, normal people that she gets along with. We're actually all weirdos, right? We are weird. Who on earth spends their whole weekend doing this, right? Look around your families, your workplaces, your U3A, the kids, the parents at the school gate. Nobody does this. And when we're talking about that formula of, 100 members and 10 will volunteer, think about the wider population around you, right? How many of them? You're weird. You're 1 in 1,000. You're 1 in 1,000,000, some of you. I won't specify who. But this is something that I think we need to take really seriously, because there's a gap between the kind of people who take it on ourselves to think about the future of our country and the other regular people around us who we need to join us, right? So bear that in mind. The other thing I just want to dispute is the Southeast region that I inherited. Valerie was being modest. I stepped into her shoes as secretary. As you can imagine, it was a very tightly run ship that I stepped into gratefully. And it has some really fantastic organisers, some of you in the room, and I will embarrass you shortly. But so yeah, the Southeast has progressed in the 2.5, 3 years that I've been chairing there. So when I came in, I think we had about 270 odd members. We're now just touching 540. So in that time, we've doubled, right? That's an okay pace. It's not the transformation that we need. I think we need to double in 12 months. I think we need to treble in 2026. I think we need to quadruple that in 2027. That will get us to the level that Reform is at now in terms of membership. So I think we have to have that ambition, and that's the kind of the change of pace that we need to be figuring out how we can do. So my bird's eye view of the Southeast region gives me a sort of privileged view of where the gaps are. And what I can tell you from that, and I will slightly disagree with Keenan here, is that I don't think it's an organisational question, fundamentally. I think we have a perfectly functional organisation. Get a hold of the Constitution, get a hold of the rule book, look at it, understand the moving parts. You'll see that it's a fully functional structure. I think of it as a bit of a stick man. We've got a nice round head on the top. We've got the shoulders of the National Coordinator Committee. We've got the spine of the Constitution. We've got all the limbs in the regions. It's all there. We just don't have flesh on those bones, right? We don't have the pulse. We don't have the blood pressure of a real body politic. And that is the challenge for me. It's not, as a new member, it's very tempting to think, oh, there must be a missing bit. And maybe there is an organ or two that we need to develop, and who's going to do that? But fundamentally, it's about getting the flesh on those bones for me. And when I look at performance within my region, I see counties where nothing happens and counties where amazing things happen. So Thames Valley organiser Maurice Pomlet will not thank me for pointing her out, but the organisation that she's doing there, pulling together a critical mass of really interesting members, brings people together, right? And the same in Kent around Nigel Gregory and Bev Turner, who both had to step back this year, but nonetheless, a critical mass of members who meet regularly, look each other in the eye, and take accountability for the success of the party in the area. And that is the transformation for me. There is a pulse in those places. You see it in Middleton Park as well. It's where you get that activity where people are willing to be accountable to each other. And that is the gift. That's where the creativity, that's where the magic happens in a political party. Because you think, oh, who am I to take responsibility for this stuff? Well, you're weird enough to come here, right? But who am I to be the one who's thinking about the future of the party, the future of the country, and trying to sort of do whatever I can to make the next step? That might sound like I'm just here to nag you to take a job. And that's absolutely not what I'm doing. I mean, it is what I'm doing, but it's not all of what I'm doing. What I really want to get to, and what I want to challenge you all with for the rest of the day, we're social democrats, okay? What we have in common is we understand that the problem with the country is the lack of democracy, the lack of democratic accountability between our governing class and our demos, right, our citizens. So when I say stepping up in the party is about offering each other accountability and the pressure of that and the pace of that, what I'm saying is, actually, this is, in solving this for ourselves, we are also solving the big problem. We are addressing the big problem that the whole country has to deal with, about reviving that democratic relationship, that creative tension between the members of the nation and the leadership of the nation. And that's, I think, where the transformation will come from.
Lovely. Thanks, Alan.